What's going on, guys? Dit Commando here. Welcome to the channel. So today we're going to be doing a reaction video to Task and Purpose channel, and a video that's titled "Can the Marine Corps M27 rifle replace the M249 saw?" And the saw, guys, if you don't know what that is, it's like a light machine gun variant, similar to the LMG that the Royal Marines use. So yeah, I'm really interested to know about this one, guys, because when I was in the Royal Marines, I too was a light machine gunner for a period of time, and I thought it was an absolutely fantastic weapon system. So yeah, I'd be interested to see what their thoughts on that is. But before we get into that, troops, you know what to do. Please smash that like button, drop us a subscribe and press the notifications if you haven't already, and just show support to the channel, guys. I'd really appreciate that. We now have a Discord server, so if you haven't joined that, the link is in the description. Everyone's welcome there, and that's the place to send me all these wonderful recommendations to, which I've been getting loads by the day. So yeah, without further ado, troops, thank you for stopping by, and I hope you enjoy the video.
An infantry automatic rifle is the most requested gun that we get on here. It's the Marine Corps' fancy new replacement for the M249 saw. Or maybe it's supposed to replace the M16. I don't know, they keep switching the answer on me, and that's part of the reason why it's such a controversial rifle. There's a big debate going on about if the M27 is going to be a huge failure or not, with the worst case scenario being Marines don't have the firepower that they need. And the funny thing is, nobody's really even questioning if it's a good rifle or not. It has basically universal acclaim. Look, the M27 has 99% on Rotten Tomatoes, and that's critic and audience score. The real reason the weapon is controversial is because some Marines question if the 30-round capacity rifle can fill the role of the 200-round capacity M249. I'll bring you the reports from the actual Marines who used it in the field so we can figure out if they're making a huge mistake here or not, or maybe they know something we don't. We'll go over the M27's different capabilities, why they made this switch. Stick around to the end of the video if you want to know about the infantry doctrine changes that this will mean for the Marine Corps.
Right, guys, so very briefly then, like I said, I was an LMG gunner when I was in the Royal Marines Commandos, and I found it to be a fantastic weapon system in pretty much all scenarios. It was an effective section weapon, and it was an effective troop level weapon as well. It could be used as fire support, albeit it was 5.56, so it didn't pack as much of a punch as the GPMG. Nowhere near, in fact, but it did get rounds down, and it got a lot of rounds down in quick time. So it seemed like it had a lot of firepower with, especially in section level. If there was two of them, you would seem like there was a lot of firepower, and it was small enough and versatile enough to be able to carry and complete section attacks in, and do urban warfare, and do room clearances and stuff like that. So it was a really versatile weapon system. It was problem with stoppages. If there's anyone who's watching this who has served in the military and have used the LMG, they'll understand it was prone to stoppages. What we always said is we wished they'd just upgraded it instead of replacing it, which they've done in the Royal Marines as well, I believe. They've getting rid of it. So yeah, it looks like they've replaced the saw with effectively what is like an assault rifle. So
afterwards in the comment section, we can debate if you guys think that the M27 is a good move or not. This video is sponsored by GunMagWarehouse.com. GunMagWarehouse.com is the online destination for new and veteran shooters alike. Check out their inventory right away. I know they're always my go-to. The M27 is almost exactly the same as the HK416 rifle. It just has a slightly longer barrel. The HK416 was originally developed for Delta Force, which is pretty much the top tier elite unit we're allowed to know about. The HK416 is famous for being the rifle that they used to kill Osama bin Laden. It was originally developed with help from a former Delta Force operator and current YouTube star Larry Vickers. The M27 is a short stroke gas piston system. It has a barrel length of 16.5 inches and it weighs 9.8 pounds when fully loaded. It fires the same 5.56 rounds that the M16 shoots.
Right, so it is an assault rifle. It was designed with elite special forces in mind, and it's tried and tested then, troops, so it has to be good. It is effectively an assault rifle though, so in terms of the firepower, I guess they're probably thinking along the lines of, is it worth having the firepower that we have currently over accuracy and reliability of a weapon system? Now, I can understand the point on that. You know, if you are have got a section of men and they can all fire a weapon system accurately without stoppages, you know, that probably outweighs the cons of not having an LMG. However, if it was my section, I'd still want at least one weapon system like a LMG or a SAW, just to have that superior firepower, you know. Even if it isn't as accurate and it is prone to a few stoppages, if you need to get someone's heads down and you're pointing that thing in the direction of the enemy, they're getting their heads down, you know.
Free-floating barrel, meaning it only makes contact with the rest of the rifle at the receiver. This gives it improved accuracy and prevents the barrel from overheating quickly. It has a rate of fire of 700 rounds per minute, and its max effective range is 600 meters for a point target and 800 meters for an area target. The rifle is fully automatic. Finally, we can say bye to the 3-round burst. Why do we even have a 3-round burst on the M4? It feels like a child safety lock on a car window. Do you seriously not trust us enough to have full auto? We can fire it in bursts. On second thought, I wouldn't trust any grunts in a room for 10 minutes without it being fully child-proof. Every one of these are outfitted with a bipod and an ACOG 4x scope. As part of the tactical changes within the Marine Corps, they're experimenting with deploying a unit where every single M27 was fitted with a suppressor. They reported that they were able to communicate easier with a trade-off of the weapons overheating faster.
Right then, that's really interesting, troops. So when I was in the Royal Marines, I never used a silencer on a weapon system ever. It just wasn't widely used or available. I don't know if it was because of funds or what, but yeah, I don't even know if I haven't even seen a silenced weapon system in the Royal Marines, which is interesting, come to think of it. But I can definitely see the benefits of having a silenced weapon system, especially when you're fighting in some of the areas that the military is of today. And communication is a big one, guys, you know. I think it's a good idea, having silenced weapons, and it's interesting that they said they'd opted it and they trialled it amongst all of the weapons. That's interesting, but I can see it having effects on the weapon system in terms of heating and stuff. That's a definite negative.
The main difference between the M16 and the M27 is the following. The M27 has a longer barrel and it's heavier. So this gives it an accuracy and range advantage, and it can hold a higher rate of sustained fire for a longer period of time without overheating. And this is thanks to that piston system. We all know the M16 is a gas-operated weapon, but the M27 has a piston-operated bolt, so it's not running on recycled carbon. Cross our fingers now and hope that means less Q-tipping the inside of that star chamber. That sounds like an innuendo, but I promise it's not. As an example, the AK-47 also works on a piston-operated system. With your traditional gas-operated system, the gas travels down the barrel, behind the bullet, and it goes through a small hole in the barrel. Then it's diverted back through the upper receiver, where it pushes against the top of the bolt carrier, which cycles the action. This system is prone to overheating because of all the hot gas in the receiver, and if you ever fired an M16 before, you know how it's also prone to misfires because of all the carbon that gets baked onto the bolt carrier.
Yeah, so it's pretty similar to the standard weapon system of the British military, the SE-80, which I believe the A3 is out now, an even more upgraded version than the one that I was using when I was in. And if I'm honest with you, I didn't find it too bad a weapon, although the carbon build-up in it, because it was also piston operated, was, there was a lot of carbon, guys, alright? You had to clean this weapon system all the time, you had to keep on top of it as well in case it had all the stoppages associated with the carbon build-up. But you know, it was a half decent weapon system. It wasn't when it first came out, but it definitely grew into a decent weapon system. And even now, it's quite an effective weapon. And the thing I like about the SE-80 is it's really small, guys. It's quite a small weapon, and we're getting similar figures to this current weapon system that they're showing now in terms of distances and stuff. So yeah, it's interesting to see that they're using this weapon. It seems like quite a good weapon, and from my experience, this weapon is probably better than the SE-80. So
in the piston-operated system, on the other hand, the gas drives an operating rod, which cycles the action while the gas is vented and never enters the action of the rifle. The piston system that the M27 is based off of is a G36, and I actually got the chance to fire a G36 when I was in Latvia helping to train the soldiers to deploy to Afghanistan. It was a very intuitive weapon with a great balanced feel to it, and everyone in my platoon was jealous of the G36 We all wanted the weapon instead of our old, dusty M4s. When the military was running all their stress tests on the M27, they found the old aluminum magazines suck at feeding rounds into the chamber. They were having a ton of misfires with them, which they fixed by issuing PMags.
Yeah, they did something similar when I was in as well. We had most of the stoppages were because of the ammunition, and there's different grades of ammunition that different militaries use as well. That's why when we was using the SE-80, more importantly, we had to use British grade ammunition, because if we didn't, it could obviously affect the weapon system in a much negative way. So yeah, definitely not picking up people's mags on the battleground to feed your own.
Another good tip is when you're loading those last 5 rounds in the magazine, load regular ammo, then tracer, and alternate between those two so you know when you're almost out of ammo. The role of the rifle reminds me of how the US military operated back in World War II with the Browning automatic rifle. It's really a return to an old doctrine. The BAR and the IAR are both automatic, accurate, and meant to suppress the enemy, but at the same time, they're not bell-fed and they're not overly cumbersome.
The Browning automatic rifle, caliber 30, model 1918 A2, is an air-cooled, gas-operated weapon.
The M27 IAR was built to slay the enemies of America. Look at Cappy here. He's a swell Marine, taking care of his M27 by sleeping with it every night.
You don't sleep with your weapons, guys. It's, well, you certainly don't now anyway. Unless you're in the field and you put it in your sleeping bag with you, because it's no good outside, is it? But yeah, that was a bit of a funny point he made there. He had to emphasise the fact that this weapon is air-cooled. Well, it certainly isn't liquid-cooled, is it? Yeah.
He sure as heck isn't sleeping with anyone else, that's for dang sure. By golly, here's something you might not know about the M27. Congress threw a fit over the insane $3,000 price tag, which was 4 times the amount of the M4. You can bet your bottom dollar H&K lowered the price to $1,500 after that. If you're confused which weapon they want to replace with the rifle, you're not alone there, son. Just be happy you got something new. As you were. Whether you like the M27 or not, please remember to like the video. In early 2017, the Commandant of the Marine Corps himself, General Robert Neller, said he wanted to equip every single rifleman with an M27 IAR, so it might not just be a replacement for the SAW, it might also be a replacement for the M16. I have to admit, at first, I had my doubts about whether the M27 could actually fill the role of the SAW, which is a bell-fed 200-round weapon.
Right then, that's interesting, Troops. So he's wanting to change the entire weapon systems for the entire US Marines in terms of the light role. So it's not just the riflemen, the SAW that'll go, all riflemen will have this weapon system potentially as well. That's interesting, that. That's interesting.
The M27, on the other hand, is a magazine-fed weapon, and it only has the capacity of 30 rounds at a time. Sure, you could outfit it with a 100-round drum, but no military in the world does that because drums are unreliable. But this isn't a debate about if the M27 can do what the SAW already does. The real question here is, can the Marine infantry doctrine and training quickly change from being focused on a high volume of fire to achieve fire superiority to the new tactics, which would have to be based around the new automatic rifle, its advantages and its disadvantages.
Yeah, guys, and they hinted on something there through the visuals of fire superiority in terms of the volume of fire or the accuracy of the fire. And it does make sense, and it is an argument worth having. It is definitely worth debating over. Is it really worth getting all of those rounds down that aren't hitting accurately, or is it worth just, having the entire section have these real good, decent assault rifles where they can get more accurate fire down? And yeah, communication's better because potentially all of them will be silenced as well. It's definitely worth having that debate, guys.
From what I know about the Marines, they're smart as heck, and they'll be able to quickly change their training and adapt to the challenges like that. No, get that out of your mouth. I was just talking about how great you are. Don't make me look stupid. From the combat reports that came back from Afghanistan, the Marines felt an M27 gunner with an aimed shot had the same effect of 4 automatic shots from the SAW. And they felt that they were able to successfully implement a new doctrine in the field that works for this new weapon. Being able to achieve fire superiority and suppress the enemy is as much about a unit's training as it is about the type of weapon that they're using. And yet, a lot of people still laugh at the idea that the rifle expects to fill the same role as the squad automatic weapon. This is because traditionally for the last 60 years, our tactics of suppressing fire have revolved around two automatic belt-fed weapons firing in tandem. That tactic is called talking the guns.
Yeah, that's true, guys. The Royal Marines use something very similar as well. So in a section, a section of 8, for instance, you'd have probably a light machine gun, a GBMG, 2 guys with UGLs on the SE-80s, and maybe a sharpshooter. The rest of the guys would have the regular SE-80s. And yeah, you would use fire superiority in terms of you'd have one LMG or one GBMG firing, and when that one's not firing, the other one will be firing, so you're saving ammunition and stuff. But if you're trying to get maximum rate of fire down to save ammunition at the same time, it probably makes sense to replace those weapon systems with a much accurate weapon that has the ability to be automatic as well, and just get more accurate rounds down, guys, you know. And let's face it, our guys in both Marine Corps, you know, carry an awful lot of weight anyway. And if you're an LMG or a GBMG gunner, you're carrying so much more weight, you know, just with carrying all of the belt-fed ammunition. It can add an awful lot up, and IR is effective when you're heavier and you're struggling to move across the ground in a more efficient manner. Probably is not. So it's interesting that these changes are coming out now when they probably should have been implemented, 10-15 years ago, and especially in the more recent wars, guys.
And depending on the firefight, machine guns usually never run out of to say. Here's how it works by the book. One gunner fires a burst, and then another gunner located further down the line fires a burst in response. This is done within overlapping fields of fire. By doing this, teamwork style, they conserve ammo and fire more accurately. Talking the guns draws out the length of time that your machine guns can fire. And if you use this tactic, you can keep up a sustained rate of fire for over 2 minutes before having to reload the saws. The M27, on the other hand, wouldn't really have the ability to do this because it can't keep up that same volume of fire for the same amount of time.
Yeah, and that's interesting to see how they'd actually cope with that. But then again, they've probably done all of the tests and debates and stuff to actually see, well, is it even worth getting that amount of fire down for a sustained period of time in the first place? That's why we have fire support groups and stuff like that anyway, and it's probably more important to use those assets instead of just having a section on the ground in one place lying dormant getting accurate high volume fire down. It's better for them to probably be out there calling in all of the other support mechanisms, artillery, mortars, yada yada yada. There's probably easier ways and better ways to get high volume fire down other than just two light machine guns, I guess.
So people worry if the Marines could still achieve that fire superiority. So the Marines in the field say they love the weapon and appreciate that it's lighter weight. The M27 is 10 pounds lighter than the M249 SAW, and the top brass is also taking cost into consideration here. If they were able to consolidate some weapons into one, it means the Marines are able to get the job done for less money. So they're basically like construction crews that come in and underbid everyone. The other major advantage for M27 gunners is that they're not singled out by enemy snipers. When a platoon is on patrol and they get ambushed by snipers, you can bet the enemy is identifying the main threats first. Enemy snipers usually want to take out the machine gunners, the RTO, or the FO because they're going to be the biggest threat to them.
That is really interesting, troops. I've never even thought about that. It's true. It was spoken to me when I was an LMG gunner and a GBMG gunner. Guys, if we get into any kind of altercations and you're getting that heavy rate of fire down, and it's allowing for the enemy not to get any of their rates of fire down, then you become more of a high profile target to be taken out, because at the end of the day, if it restricts their freedom of movement, then the only way they can release that freedom of movement is by taking out the weapon system with the high rate of fire. So yeah, it's really interesting that. I'd never even contemplated that. And it only takes 1 or 2 shots on target to take that gunner out of the equation in the first place. So yeah, from that sense, I kind of agree with taking that weapon system out of the picture and replacing it.
The M249 looks way different than any other weapon. It's impossible to miss. It's easy to identify them. They stick out like a sore thumb because their weapon and the boxed ammo that they're carrying. However, the M27 looks pretty much the same as an M4, so snipers wouldn't be aiming for them. The M27 is a weapon that can fill different roles in a squad. It could also be a squad-designated marksman position. You slap a Leopold TS-38 variable power scope, which is a $1,200 scope that gives greater magnification than the ACOG.
Right, yeah. I can see why they've done it now. This weapon system basically stands, it can do all three roles, you know. In its basic format, it's a rifleman's rifle, you know, with the extended mags or whatever. You've got a fire support weapon-ish, and with the right optic and a silencer or whatever, you know, you have a marksman rifle. So that makes perfect sense, troops.
Personally, I like the idea of having the M27 replace all the M16s as a more reliable, more accurate main battle rifle, while still keeping a few M249s around in each platoon, just in case it really hits the fan. Remember to check out gunmagwarehouse.com to see their high-quality inventory today. Thank you for watching the video. I'm Chris Cappy. Please remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Leave a comment with your thoughts.
Yeah, I really like that, guys. I really enjoyed that video regards to that weapon system. It's made me think an awful lot about how we did it in the military, and it's interesting to see that, you know, you don't really have to have the big machine guns to have a similar effect with a weapon system that has a lesser rate of fire. But it's yeah, I wonder what the rest of the militaries are going to be doing in respect to that then, because normally when one military changes, the rest follow suit. So yeah, really enjoyed that video. I hope you guys did too. If you did, please smash the like button. If you fancy subscribing to the channel, if you haven't already, just smash the notifications button. And if you want to chat with me or the rest of the gang, and you want to drop a suggestion in for a video or anything like that, then join the Discord, guys. The link is in the description. But I really appreciate you being here, and I hope to see you in the next video. Take it easy.